We're going live. We're live. We're live.
Here we go.
Hi, everybody. We are so excited to be with you today. My name is Dr. Ann Katona Lynn, and I am extremely excited to have the co-hosts Danielle Ditburner and Dr. May Lee with me. And we have been building up to this, and we're super excited to be with you today. So thank you. Uh, I want to, before I really get into introductions, I want to just do a very brief of kind of how we met. And, one of the things that I think that we want to get across is that this is raw. We're not like perfect. We're going to show you all the bumps and bruises and everything behind the scenes because that's kind of how we operate. And we didn't want to stress ourselves out because we knew that we weren't going to have fun with this. So we wanted to really make sure we were having fun. So 3 years ago in June, the three of us met at a self-publishing school, selfpublishing.com event where we were all working on getting our rough draft for our books. And so after that, after we met and after we kind of really connected, just had an amazing weekend, we continued to connect. So we met, Danielle actually got us together twice a week, and it was kind of an accountability and just a body double so that we had somebody to kind of focus like that we're going to write during this time period. That's the goal of it. And so it expanded. It's been 3 years, and the three of us have been more consistently. We started out with a few other people, and it expanded, and now really consistently, it's been the three of us. And
Yeah.
so, Danielle, go ahead and jump in on this.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm one of the reasons why I did that is I knew that I needed that accountability for myself, and I saw a need that for everybody else too. And so I just wanted to create that space where
Mhm.
we all could be held accountable for ourselves, for one another, and have community. And honestly, I did not expect that it was going to expand the way that it has. And even with the relationships that we've built, I
Mhm.
mean, it's been 3 years pretty much consistently that we've all been in each other's lives
Yeah.
on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And I just want to say I'm so grateful to both of you. So thank you. And thank
Same.
you for just being here and with what we're doing today.
Yeah. Yeah. And as we started, as we were meeting, people were listening in. They would hear our Zoom meetings. And I think, Danielle, you
Yeah.
had a couple
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, my mom there was one time that she heard us and she was just like, wow, I just, I know that I'm eavesdropping, but I love listening to you guys and you guys should have a podcast. And so like, we kind of joked about it for some time of like, oh, we should do a podcast. We should do a podcast. And then finally, what was it? A month, 2 months ago, we went, let's do the podcast. Not we should, but let's do it.
Yeah.
And so here we are.
Yeah, I think it was just a little over a month ago. It was really kind of crazy that we're like, just do it. Because all three of us, we sort of, on our own, we kind of get in our own way. I know I'm a perfectionist. And so, that was one of the great things about this that we wanted to share. And so, before we get any further, I wanted to do kind of the introduction, but I really want to introduce my amazing friends, colleagues who have been a rock for me, and I'll also introduce myself. So, Danielle is a holistic transformation coach specializing in post-traumatic growth, and she walks the walk. She founded Reach for More to serve as a mirror for others to see their own greatness and catalyze conscious awareness and break the addictive habit of chasing external validation of worth. And so, again, this is a big piece of why we're all together. And she's also an artist. So you'll see some of the artwork that she has done. She's the one who created the logo. And her art really encourages people to embrace their inner child, creativity, and stretch beyond comfort zones so they can reclaim that confidence and respect of their life force energy and that really kind of being living into who they are. So I'm super excited to have Danielle, and she's an amazing gift to me. And Dr. May has I kind of froze for a second, and she has completed studies at three Ivy League universities with a PhD in science, and then only finding herself as a single mother working three jobs to make ends meet. And so, again, having all of this, she was struggling. And so, curious why her rigorous academic training wasn't setting up for more financial success, she looked into programs and books and interviewing millionaires to find out what she had missed in that traditional coursework. I can completely relate. And the research paid off, and that was the foundation for her book, The Millionaire Mindset for Women: Eight Essential Elements to Create Wealth. And she inspires to help women from all walks of life to pursue their dream, knowing what a wealthy lifestyle is, and helping to create the mindset. And that's a huge thing for me. There's so much of both of their stories. Again, we have different backgrounds, and yet we have so much overlapping. And that's kind of what we want to celebrate, is that yes, we're all unique, and we all have special gifts that we have in common. And so to introduce myself, I'm Dr. Ankatona Lynn. I'm an educator. I'm an author. My book is Shedding Lies, Living Beyond Childhood Trauma. And I have chapters in two other books. And Danielle also, we both have a chapter in one other book. And so you'll be learning more about these things. And I founded Katona Lynn Consulting. And I really focus on helping school leaders create safe and supportive spaces for healing and growth. And it's really rooted in my own personal experience, as well as 25 plus years of just experience in working in the environment. A lot of it was special education with the autistic population, both children and adults and families, and as a mental health advocate. So I really, and leading is a big piece, and leading and coaching are my two big passions. And so on this podcast, I'm going to be able to share my bold truths and some practical tools and the power of rising. We're all going to focus on rising through that resilience. So again, I think that's the commonality that we all have, right? So to introduce, I've talked about sort of what it is that we're doing here. Um, the purpose of this podcast really is, it's a space for women, and men are absolutely invited, who are done playing small. And we are three voices rising in truth, rooted in healing, and we're unafraid to lead with both grace and grit. And so we're going to speak without filters. We're really not going to do a ton of editing. We want to grow without competition and live with radical joy. So each episode is our permission and your permission to live fully, lead boldly, and rise. You're going to lead from whatever seat you're in, all on your terms, in your power, with your voice. So our goal is really that we want to rise together. So we're so grateful. All right. So now the first thing we're going to get into is, what is your personal why of
Mm.
doing this podcast? So Danielle, let's start with you.
Hmm. Such a good question. I always love leading with why, right? That's just
Yeah.
the heart of things. Um, in the most succinct way that I can put this, my personal why, my purpose in life is to alchemize joy, or alchemize suffering into joy, so that I can create greater love and connection in the world. And so bringing that forward, and with this podcast, it's really to create that sacred space
Mhm.
that enables us to be fully expressive in our truths, really being able to lean into the discomfort and push through and have resilience. Um, Again, I believe that if we want any kind of change in the world, we have to begin with ourselves first.
Mhm.
And so this is a space where we can do that, where we can lead with integrity, where
Mhm.
we can really speak our truths and hold that space for others so they can do the same.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's so
absolutely.
powerful. Go ahead.
Yeah. I feel like the why is very strong for me because after going through life, you're prepared in so certain way when you're a child, right? And you see what your mother has gone through, and then you find out the reality is not what you expected.
Mhm.
And so after I've been investigating my own story and look and talking to other people, I feel like there's a big paradigm shift going on in the world now, that there's more and more need for women to truly be empowered and to own that power. So a lot of times in my book too, I mentioned these things, but women think it's kind of pie in the sky, and wealth and empowerment is for other people, and they're kind of staying in their own safety zone.
Mhm.
So I felt like, years is going to go by and you're not going to end up where you want to be and what your true potential is. So that's my why for being here today and part of this wonderful group.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, both of you. And for me, my why is, I've been through a lot of trauma in my past and have overcome a lot and have really grown stronger through my faith and counseling and friends and family supporting me. And I also, as I worked as a teacher and a behavior analyst and coaching teachers for the last 25 plus years. And also being a person with lived experience. My family, I lost a nephew 2 years ago. And so, to a drug overdose. And I always try to advocate for people who are struggling in mental illness or drug and alcohol and those substance use disorders, and that we make sure we're making a safe space for people to share who they are
Mhm.
and know that that doesn't have to define you, that you can create and rewrite your story that is empowering and that helps you to shine and help others, because so many times we get stuck in, again, the whole purpose of us doing this podcast is because each of us individually, we know what we have to do and we would get stuck, whereas the three of us kind of forcing ourselves to be accountable and just, not a pushing in a negative way, just like, hey, you've got this, we can do this, and just creating that safe space. That's kind of what the three of us have done. And I really want to just continue on with that. Again, I work a lot with schools, and yet a lot of what I do, I speak about relationships and healthy relationships and boundaries, because for me, that was one of the big things that, kind of the one thing that we were talking about, the lies of the rules that we grew up with that don't serve us anymore. For me, it was I need to please everybody. I need to be a people pleaser. And I don't, and boundaries are for breaking relationships. And so it took me a long time, and I still struggle with that. Yet that is something that I understand, that if I have my own healthy boundaries for relationships, for work, for everything that I do, for spending money, all of those things. If I have healthy boundaries, I'm actually going to be better. They're not restrictive. They're for me to actually be the best that I can be. And that's kind of where I'm breaking free from, like, true freedom is trying to break back on those lies that, I don't deserve to have boundaries. I'm not good enough. All of those things, they don't serve me anymore. And so I'm really trying to focus on getting every aspect of my life. And right now, that money piece, and again, we're going to have different topics as we get into. We'll share the topics as we move forward so you know what some of the episodes are. And we're going to talk about money and trauma and resilience and all kinds of things that, we that have impacted us and that have kind of guided our journey. And we do want you to share what are things that you want us to talk about, because again, we have expertise and our personal experiences. So we would love to hear. Feel free to leave us notes, follow us on social media, and we want to make sure that we're creating a space for you. So now I want to move to Danielle. What are the lies or rules that you grew up with, and kind of how do you want
Mhm.
to break them, or how have you broken them?
Yeah, yeah. I would say that I am a recovering perfectionist, um, and people pleaser for sure.
Mm,
Those were two very strong narratives that I've had. Part of that was shaped in a really beautiful way. I was a competitive gymnast.
mm,
You needed to be perfect. You were striving for perfection. And so there were great elements with that of forming discipline and having the mental tenacity to work through really hard things.
mm,
And it also created a very strong programming, not just with that, but with my family dynamics too, of
mm, mm,
I had to prove myself
mm,
to be worthy of love, of attention, of success,
mhm,
of having any space at the table.
mhm,
And that's been the big one that I've been unraveling for years is I don't need to prove. I just need to be myself. I just need to show up in my full authentic form.
mhm,
And that is without perfection because to me, being able to get really clear on what perfection is that it's the imperfections.
mhm,
It's all of the flaws that make a person perfect and whole,
mhm,
because that's part of our humanness. Um, so that's one of them. The people pleasing aspect is really about not wanting to let people down.
mhm,
Mhm.
And I've gotten to the root of that, that the hardest part is it's really about not letting myself down.
mhm,
That's the one that I struggle with the most. And I've had so many friends and close loved ones who say, "Oh, you're so hard on yourself. You don't need to be so hard. You're human." And I hear that, and that's the internal battle that I have, right? That's
yeah.
what that's what shows up with imposter syndrome. That's what cuts out my ability to be creative, and
Mm,
creativity is at the heart of who I am. So those are the main things that I'm really looking at releasing, unraveling, and switching gears. And something that I do want to speak to, this is kind of off topic, but here we go, is there is this notion that we have to put on all of this work and we have to do all of this healing and has to take so much time before we can be who we truly are. And
mm,
that's not true. We can make the choice and we can change in a moment. It's our external, the way that we're behaving in the environment and those factors that sometimes make it feel like we're still living in a past paradigm.
mm,
But as long as we're staying true to ourselves and staying connected to that intention of who is it that I want to be right now,
mhm.
that's change. And we can do that in a moment. So,
I love it. So here we are, episode one, and I already found out something I didn't know about you. I didn't know that you were a competitive gymnast.
yeah,
Maybe I did, but it's been a while since we
yeah,
talked. So kind of cool that we get that exciting,
yeah.
yeah, I love that. May, what about you?
Well, being Asian, I grew up in a traditional Chinese culture, and some of you might have heard of the term tiger mom,
Mm,
tiger parents, and that was my environment. We were highly encouraged, if not required, to do extremely well academically. So it's no coincidence I ended up with all these degrees and a PhD in some of the best universities. But throughout that process, growing up and basically performing at my best for my parents to please them, really, um, I lost track of who I was and what I wanted. And when I finished my degree, they wanted my diplomas to hang up on the wall, so they could be proud. But I didn't know what to do with it.
mm,
And that's where you really they think they're setting up for success. Okay, so don't get me wrong, they had the best intentions. And but if that's not if you're bred with, pleasing people and your love is conditional upon grades, what does that leave you as someone that's self-expressive and creative and doing what you want to do?
Mhm.
And so it took me this long to figure out that I can do what I want to do um, without someone else's approval.
Mhm.
So I decided I'd like to be an author, and I tried that. It was very tentative at first. It was scary. So I had to join this group and be with the two of you and, support each other. And I did get a book published, and I'm like, yay, I can
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
that's a big deal.
it's a
Yeah.
huge deal and it's an amazing book. May you
Thank you. But the focus becomes not on what other thinks of you, what other people think of you, or
yeah.
external validation. It starts to focus back on what do you feel good about? What do you think is your true potential, your calling, and your passion? And that's a paradigm, that's a shift. That's not easy to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we lie to ourselves based on what we learn.
Yeah.
Again, I'm the youngest of seven. So, all of that, the proving, I always felt like I had to prove myself. And so, I think that's such a common thing for the three of us. And, uh, in
It,
society, especially in the United States, we're very much, about proving ourselves and
I think
pick
so.
yourself up by the bootstraps. And yes, you can still, I realize that the more I've actually asked for help, the more I can bless and support other people. So it's not about me just getting it all together to then support others. It's the better I take care of myself and really come into my own truth, that then I can, support others better. So it's we need to ask for help. We don't ask for help, and just asking, I think, is such a huge piece of this. That's one of the lies that I think that I want to really try and break is you don't have to do everything by yourself. You don't have to prove. And so, again, I've overcome it, and yet it's still one of those truths. And I hear in what both of you are sharing that that's kind of a thing. And I just want to share what two of my favorite quotes. Imposters don't have imposter syndrome. So I love that one.
True.
And perfection is poverty.
Yeah.
When we are trying to be perfect, we're we're not going to be able to get ourselves out there, which is again why we are doing this whole podcast. We're like, all right, yes, we each have our own businesses, and we will be, sharing more info, and that's not 100% the goal. It's just for us to be out there and to share who we are, and again, kind of create that space for everyone.
hmm
So as we are kind of wrapping up at this point, so over the next 12 weeks, we have 12 episodes planned out, and we're going to talk kind of about different topics that that are in our realm of expertise. And so we're going to share the topics, what those topics are coming out and what the schedule will be. But every Friday for the next 12 weeks at 11 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock. No, I'm blanking on my numbers. So
Nine Mountain,
9 Mountain,
8 Pacific.
8, there we go. So stay tuned and follow us. And again, we'll be sharing more information. Um, and so we really want to hear, though, what are some topics that you want us to talk about? I know some of you are my friends, and we're all bringing our audiences to the show. And so anything that you know about us, feel free and put it in as we'll make space for getting topics so that in the future we could talk about them. So,
Yeah.
so any last words from both of you before we kind of formally wrap up?
I just wanted to add quickly that um, you know, my both my parents passed away and my father passed away recently. And I was talking to a friend and I said, now I'm totally free to do what I want to do. And she was
Mhm.
puzzled. She goes, why did it take you so long? Why
Mm,
couldn't you do this 10, 20 years ago?
yeah.
And I was, it was a tough question because your upbringing and your also your cultural heritage ingrains in you to follow the norm and, honor your ancestors and
Yeah.
do what your parents want you to do to make them proud. And then, but the freedom is not there until you honor yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want the listeners here to wait 10, 20 years. I want you to have that now, sooner,
Yeah.
right away. So,
Yeah. And I think, and I love that, May. And I think, all of our parents, both of my parents have passed as well. And I think what you're talking about is our parents probably would want us to have that freedom. They just didn't know, they did the best with what they had.
mhm.
And so, again, it's up to us to kind of go, all right, what could I have done differently? And what can we do differently now moving
Do
forward?
it now. Don't
Yep,
wait.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a perfect, go ahead,
Yeah, I
Danielle.
was just gonna say, I think the other piece of that too, that I hope can come about from this for other people is that forgiveness that we can all give to our families,
Mm-hmm.
to our parents specifically, because I truly believe all parents are doing the best that they can. And there's not ill will intention.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they themselves aren't healed enough. They don't have the capacity. And we all need love and support in our own ways. That's what makes us unique. And sometimes, unfortunately, that's what our parents are unable to give us. And so, as being functioning adults, it is our own responsibility
Mm-hmm.
to take the time to heal those wounds, to really process those things. And again, coming back to forgiveness, finding forgiveness in our own hearts, not just for them, but for ourselves too.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So true. So, kind of a reflective prompt that we have for you all as we wrap up here is what rule or rules no longer serve you?
Mhm.
What is it that you're carrying that isn't helping you to be the best you can for yourself, which then in turn blocks you from being able to really truly be yourself, be the best self for others as well. You're the most important thing, though. What can you do to break that?
Mhm.
And so, as we've shared, again, follow us on Facebook. We'll be sharing more information. We even have our own song. So we'll be sharing that with you. So, stay tuned. And we'd love feedback. Please share comments, whatever. We're just excited to be here for you and with you. And because we're on this journey, we're not perfect, and we're gonna show you what that looks like because we don't have it all figured out. So thank you so much for joining us today. Danielle, May, I love you both. This is the best. And here we go. We started.
Yeah. Yeah. We said we should do a podcast.
You got it.
And so it is.
Yep.
Love you
Love you.
guys.
Thanks, everybody.